Bleav in Everything Auburn is brought to you by Bet Online. The big week is here. Time for the Super Bowl, and Bet Online is your number one source for playoff football odds, stats, trends, and lines with everything from point spreads to hundreds of player performance props. So head to Bet Online today to stay updated on all the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to Bleav in Everything Auburn. I'm Taylor Davis. He is Jason Campbell. We are so pumped to be back. Man plans, God laughs. You know what I mean? And bigger things happened last week than a podcast episode needed to fit into. So I welcome in my co-host Jay Cam, and I'll just let you take it from here, Jay. You got some exciting news for us, so why don't you go ahead and share with the listeners?
Well, good morning, everybody. First of all, I apologize in advance if I sound not my normal self. Sleep deprived is real. So my face look a little chubby this morning. I haven't worked out in probably 2.5 weeks. Yeah, yeah, and all over the place right now. I'm trying to get used to this parenting thing. So, you know, on January 26th, our baby girl was born. So she was born a couple of days early. She was due on February 1st, but she ended up coming on January 26th. She said, "Hey, world, I'm ready to
I'm
enter."
ready.
So, so she came right on. So, like
Oh,
Taylor was saying, we had to make an audible. So,
yeah, happens.
I'm excited. I'm an excited father to a little baby girl, and just all the things that you could imagine, and some, like just actually being in the delivery room and then
Yeah.
seeing how that whole process takes place. And then when you actually hold the baby in your arms, and then you see this little person, and you just like, wow, you was bundled up inside this stomach for 9 months, and all of a sudden they're here.
Mhm.
And you really puts perspective in life in perspective when you think about all the amazing things that God can do.
Yeah.
I tell you, I have a lot of sleepless nights sometimes, 'cause you got to feed the baby every 2 to 3 hours, so you have to get up, and everything. That sometimes you have to rock them, and it's just a lot that goes into it. But I wouldn't change it for anything.
Amazing. And y'all, she is beautiful. Like I all babies are, like you said, a blessing from above, and it truly a miracle. But like some babies just look like a potato. You know what I mean? Like some of them are they're just round. They haven't really developed, really strong features yet, and so they're just babies.
It takes some time.
This baby is beautiful. When he sent me a picture, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." She is absolutely beautiful and healthy, which is the most important thing, obviously. And you told me Shayla's doing great and was a champ. No surprise. Do you get like probably not? You're an athlete, but do you get like queasy with stuff like that? Like the videos on TikTok of husbands like about to pass out when their spouses are giving birth, hilarious. Did it hit you at all? Did you get a little lightheaded?
So I told my dad about this, and he had to leave the delivery room, and
Stop.
my mom was having me. He said because she was hollering so loud that people could hear it down the hallway. He just couldn't take it anymore, so
It's
he just
overwhelming, I'm sure.
left the delivery room, and then had to come and get him after I was born. For me, I said, no, I'm staying in there. I got to watch this from start to finish.
Yeah.
So I wanted the whole dad vibe there. I wanted to you know have to sleep in that bad chair that they have for you to sleep in, a
It's
little
true.
small chair, and you have to sleep in that thing for a couple of days, and of course your back and your hips be all out of place, your sleep be all over the place. But no, I stayed in there, and I tell you, it is a lot. It is a lot for a lot of people to stomach, and I
I'm
think what
sure.
helps me is because I did play football, and I played the highest level, so I got a chance to see a lot of crazy things. So
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy injuries, on the field, and things have to happen quickly. Going through surgeries and all those type of things. You
Yeah.
see so much craziness within
True.
our game that when I'm watching my wife go through what she's going through, you become a huge fan and a supporter. So
Yeah.
you're almost like I'm your biggest cheerleader. So I can't
I
imagine.
can't be weak.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So I got to be strong because you're being stronger.
Yeah, true. True.
So, it was a great experience. Like I said, I have much respect for all women that have to go through this and everything because you are super powerful to be able to witness what I witnessed. Like it takes a strong person and a strong will person to be able to do that. Like, yes, we see the baby and everything, but that mama and what she
Oof,
has to get that baby out is
champion.
a champ.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Congrats, Jay. And I've told you many times, but I'll say it on behalf of the listeners who are going to be so excited to hear this. We're just so happy for you. And look, the sleep will come back. Don't get overwhelmed. It is short lived. You'll be back to your normal sleep routine, but
That's all season.
enjoy. All right. Well, truly, no news is going to top that, but we will do a quick little catch up episode. Basketball pulling off a huge win last night at home. We've got the Super Bowl this weekend, so we'll give our picks on that and just catch up on a few random news and notes out of Auburn lately. So let's dive into it a little bit. The signing class has officially wrapped up, and as expected, one of Auburn's best in the history of the program, a top 10 signing class. So it definitely shows a lot of promise, and it kind of reiterates what we have said on past episodes that this coaching staff is really investing in recruiting and still definitely believes in development within your program in a day and age where we are seeing the Ole Miss and Ohio States of the world just throw everything at the wall to build these transfer portal mega teams. And you kind of are having to deal with both at the same time. But I think Auburn fans should have a lot of confidence in the recruiting efforts. Um, One thing that, on our last episode, we talked about some of the coaching changes, and those have continued, and some new names have been added. My guy, Travon Reed, has departed, and he was a huge part of our recruiting efforts. But I did just want to wish him well because, look, he's an Auburn dude through and through. He heads to UCF to join Gus Malzahn, and it's a great opportunity for him. But just wanted to acknowledge that because on the last episode, we talked about him getting promoted at Auburn, and now he's headed to UCF. But this recruiting class shapes up to be one of a lot of promise and a lot of potential. Give me your take, Jay, on yes, this recruiting class and kind of where it sits right now. But do you anticipate that while this staff has put an emphasis on recruiting, it doesn't always mean that you're going to commit to playing these younger guys, but do you anticipate, given a lot of the talent that we've garnered, not only are these guys choosing Auburn, but they're choosing Auburn because there's a high likelihood they're going to contribute very early in their career?
Yeah, I do think a lot of these guys will play
Okay.
early as well. You talk about, last year we finished with what top 12 class, and then this year you finished with top 10 class.
Mhm.
So you put together two good classes. And let's be honest, this team hasn't won in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
We haven't a winning record. So it's all about the future.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna play a lot of these young guys if they're talented enough to play. And they've showed in the spring that they're early in the role, he showed in the spring, and then some of the guys come in the fall, like Perry Thompson, that'll be here in the fall. Once he gets here, like there's no way he's not playing.
That's
There's
true.
no way Coleman's not playing. You saw our receiver, production last year. Those two guys was brought here to build that production.
Mhm.
When you think about the defensive side of the ball, some of the defensive linemen that they signed, those guys are gonna have to play early because Marcus Harris left, and then Justin Rogers left. Two guys that had another year if they wanted it, decided to go ahead and go to the draft. So
Yeah.
when they departed, now you go out, you sign a Gage, Gage Keys from Kansas. You sign a Trio Carter from Texas, defensive line. So those two guys you are expected to come in and compete for those starting jobs. But then right behind them, you're gonna need those young pups that you just signed ready to go. So they're going to
Right.
be in rotation. So those two positions for me, you definitely will see. I think early guys,
Okay.
early in especially play in those positions. Now, when it just comes to an overall, losing Coach Garrett, to
Mm.
Jacksonville, that sting a little bit because the simple fact that he's a young coach. He's very energetic. He's big in recruiting. He's a reason that you get a lot of those guys, that Auburn was able to get. was
Right.
because it's recruiting. And now, he's going to Jacksonville to the pros. And it makes you wonder when you see guys like Chip Kelly, you see a lot of these great college coaches starting to opt for the NFL.
Yep.
A lot of it is starting to say these guys feel so much pressure. They put so much time into recruiting. And then on top of that, now you have to deal with the NIL perspective of I'm trying to please this parent, and it goes deeper than just the kid. It's a lot of pressures, a lot of things coming at these guys, and then coming at NILs and stuff, and you can't please everybody.
Right.
And when all that stuff is going on, it kind of takes away from the coaching aspect, takes away from the game aspect because it seems like your focus is more about that than it is about, being able to do what it is that you love is preparing
Totally.
to play Saturdays,
Yep.
so and these guys got wives, they got kids. So you're taking a lot of time when you're having to recruit your own guys that you just got because they're scared they're gonna hit the transfer portal. Then you gotta go shop the transfer portal. You gotta shop
Yeah.
high school. It's a lot, it's just a lot of demand and everything. So, hopefully, something kind of gets figured out, put better parameters on this that can kind of, keep the game that we've always grew up loving to watch, making sure it's still a priority.
Yeah.
I'm all for kids being able to make money for themselves. We just need some stipulations. It's just so wide open right now. And there's a different set of rules for every state, Taylor. That's the thing. Like no
Yes.
one operates under the same rule. Like, come on, even in the NFL, everyone's operating under the same salary caps or same rules and
Right.
regulations. It's not state to state, but it
I
is
know.
in college.
Yeah. Well, one of the most logical voices of our generation, Charles Barkley, was on the broadcast last night. And, he's known for his outlandish takes and how funny he is and blah, blah, blah. He got into some of the NIL stuff during the broadcast, and
Uh,
he was spitting facts and made so many good points. He was basically saying, we're heading in a direction right now that there's going to be 5 really good teams, and that's
uh,
about it. The rest of them are going to be victims of the system
yeah,
because, and especially in a sport like basketball, the special Cinderella stories are what make March Madness. Like, not these Kansas, Duke, like, we're over it. We are over it. And you're going to get that in every sport now because there's not a system set in place to keep it from becoming, like he said, the Wild West. And he brought up what you and I always talk about. We can't forget that getting a free education is an incredible blessing.
mhm,
We have completely lost sight of that. The fact that these guys are getting really reputable 4-year, a master's if you so choose. I mean, you can take it as far as you want for free. You're not going to be in debt for the rest of your life. Your parents are not going to be in debt for the rest of their lives paying off your student loans. That is a complete afterthought now. And that's very upsetting. And Charles said, especially for a lot of these kids that would never have had the opportunity to go to college if it weren't for their sport, that's not even an element. And he was saying, look, I'm a player. I want my players to be taken care of. But the way we're doing it right now is going to hurt college sports altogether. And we can't lose sight of these other blessings. They are still blessings.
right.
Those can't be overshadowed because we have this conglomerate for some of these schools to have this wealth of riches that these kids are not even going to know what to do with.
No, you just hit the nail on the head. It's just the simple fact that I have a nephew that's a 3.9, almost a 4.0 student, and
Dang.
he's an athlete as well. And he's applying to a lot of these schools that guys that have a 2.0, but they're able to get into because they have an athletic scholarship. And
Exactly.
he has 3.9, 4.0, and he can't even get into these same schools.
Yep.
So he fills out his transcript to try to get in, and he gets denied. So and
That's
he's a
crazy.
4.0 student, but here's a
Yeah.
2.0 athlete, and he's able to get into this university that a lot of kids get turned away that
Yeah.
trying to get in there. And I try to tell these guys all the time, like, man, you don't realize the true blessing that you're getting. I said,
Yeah.
all of a sudden now scholarships to these big Division One schools doesn't even ring a bell anymore.
Mm-mm.
I just like, it's about where can I go and get the most money? And I just keep telling people if you chase money, you're gonna be chasing unhappiness for the rest of your life. I say
So
you don't
true.
ever chase money. You work hard, you do what you got to do. Let the money come to you because God is in control of all of it. I was just like,
Exactly.
sometimes you're trying to put the carriage in front of the horse. I was just like, man, just take your time, be patient, work
Yeah.
hard. It will find you. I was just like, these guys want everything before they do the work. And I'm not from that school. You know what I'm
I
saying? Like,
know.
I come from the school where you got to work and earn, and then you get the reward. They want the reward before they work. I said, but when
Exactly.
you want the reward, but then you don't want to do the work and be accountable to what people is giving to you, then you want to get upset and get mad because sometimes you have to take a deduction. It's a
Yep.
two-way street. It's a business. So as soon as they consider this thing now where you can get paid to play college sports, it has now become a business. So you can't get mad at the end of the year if a coach comes to you and say, hey, I'm gonna need you to go into the transfer portal.
Mhm.
Because it's a business. You asked for
Yeah.
this. And so
Yeah.
it's a two-way street. And then you can't get mad if someone come to you at the end of the year and say, hey, it's not based off production. It's supposed to be off your name, image, and likeness. But if you're not productive, your name, image, and likeness is not growing, and then if you have to take a cut, you can't get mad that you having to take a cut.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're still winning because it's just like you said. Most kids that go to college, when they leave school, they got student loan debt for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
You won't have any student loan debt, and you're able to play a sport that you love, but you're also able to get in these schools off your
That you
athletic
couldn't have otherwise.
couldn't have gotten if it was an academic scholarship only. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So you got to look at that blessing. And then on top of it, you're able to start your life off 98% better than anybody else in the world at a 22, 23-year-old. Because even if you don't make it to the next level, you can save over six figures in your bank account to start your life off with. If you want to go get yourself nice, then go do it. But don't do it while you're trying to build for your future, while you have that opportunity right now, not knowing what lies 4 or 5 years from now.
100%. It's just setting up a really improper mentality about, what hard work equates to. And look, sometimes your hard work won't amount to that. Sometimes your hard work is still going to end in failure. And I don't think we're preparing them very well for that. We are equating to if you fail, you go somewhere else. Like it's just a really improper association that we are garnering right now in college sports. And I fear that it's only going to get worse before it gets better. It kind of feels like it's going to have to crash and burn a little bit. And I kind of think you're starting to see some of that, like you mentioned, in some of these coaches deciding to depart. And yes, Coach Saban alluded to the fact that at his age, and he's been doing it long enough, and he has achieved everything you can achieve. But I firmly believe if college football was still what it was a decade ago, you would have gotten a few more years out of Nick Saban. I don't
Yeah.
think he would have been so eager. And now he's going to be working for ESPN. So clearly he's not looking to just kick back on the beach in Jupiter, though the video of him on the boogie board was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He's going to enjoy himself and the downtime is due. But like clearly this guy still has more in the tank. We all knew that. And the current structure of coaching right now in college sports is unrealistic, and it's going to send people out of the profession, and it's going to deter people from wanting to seek it in the first place. Like I'm curious how many 20 somethings still are wanting to become college coaches. Like I would be more inclined to go NFL route right now. And like you said, Jeremy Garrett took the same coaching job that he's held at Auburn, but with the Jags. And you're not going to convince me that the scheduling implications, the difficulties around NIL are not going to add to those decisions. Harbaugh as well. And yes, the money, whatever. But you have a better work life balance right now coaching at the highest level than you do at college. It makes no freaking sense. And so I think across the board in college sports, you're going to continue to see negative implications from these things if we don't try and figure out a way, whether it is the NCAA or whether a new governing body steps in. There's a commissioner for college football. All these methods that we can talk about until we're blue in the face. They're going to have to come in, or else the product's going to suffer. And I think you're already starting to see it. And Chuck also said during the broadcast, you know, the guys asked him, what kind of impact can an NBA coach have versus a college coach? And he was like, well, if you're making $50 million to play this sport, there's not much a coach can tell you. He was talking about the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to get to a point where these kids can't be told anything by their college coaches because they hold all the power.
A lot of power because they can transfer if they don't like something. So then
Yeah.
if a coach gets onto them hard, all great players want to be coached hard. I can't say that for this generation. Some of
No.
them, if they get coached hard, they look at it as, criticism and not constructive criticism. Like
Yeah.
someone's trying to help you grow. They take an attitude to it and they want to hit the portal. So my thing is in anything you invest in, just like if I do investments, with my financial people, I want to see return on my investment, right?
Mhm.
Okay. In this NIL world right now, if you're paying kids, sometimes you don't even get a chance to see a return on your investment because they transfer.
Yeah.
So you are, you're taking care of a kid and everything. You're trying to help him develop to get a return. So when you go out and you're raising money and everything to support these guys and girls, you want to make sure that, hey, we get a chance to see a return on investment. What's a return on investment? What your product looks like come game days,
Right.
it's like that. So you want to see some type of growth and everything. So that puts a lot of pressure as well on a lot of coaches now because,
For
you
sure.
know, people want to see their product going in
Return.
the right direction. And you
Mhm.
see like Ohio State just spending they're trying to buy super teams just to win a
Golly.
like Ole Miss is trying to do everything they can to get there, but it's just I don't know. Like I've talked to a kid before this week, and this came out of a kid's mouth that's actually on someone's football team. And he was just like, Mr. Campbell, he was just like, I'm a player that's in college, and I'm telling you, it's no longer fun. He said, because
Wow.
all guys do is talk about is money.
Yeah.
And all they don't even talk about trying to win a championship together no more. They don't talk about trying to you know, get to know each other really. It's all
Dang.
about what can I go and get the most? How can I get the most? He was just like, you know, it's just taking a lot of the fun out of the game. And,
That
this
sucks.
a random player that I know at another place and everything. And, he was just, just kind of, use me as a mentor sometimes and try to
Yeah.
feel. And he just like, how do I approach this with my teammates? How do I approach this with, just and everything and just trying to talk to him and encourage him. And this is a kid, like he does pretty well and everything, but he was just like, man, he like when you guys played, he's like, everybody was under the same umbrella. So
Yeah.
everyone was kind of like, having fun. Y'all build life memories. He said, man, sometimes I don't even know what my teammates look like from year to year that I come in with,
That's
because it's
wild.
so much turnover. And he
Yeah.
said, the conversation is more about other things than it is about football. And so that's where we're at right now. And the ones that's going to kind of win championships and compete are the ones that are going to have these big recruiting classes, but the ones that are going to win in the portal and all that type of stuff. But then kids, they really come into your school. They don't really like your school. They're just going to come and just get banked or whatever if they can get it. And they don't care if they win a championship or not. They just came there, got that bread, and they gone. You
Yeah.
know, which is kind of what's been created because there was never parameters around it from the get go. And I'm all for people making money,
I
anybody,
know.
I'm all for that. But what are we teaching our young people? No commitment. Like if you can transfer twice and then get a third transfer, like within a certain amount of time, but then you're asking people to give big donations to NILs to support the student athletes, but the people that they're supporting is no longer there after they done paid these
Yeah.
kids. If it doesn't get parameters, it's gonna be like Barkley said, in 10 years, we're gonna be sitting back looking like what a disaster
Yeah.
college turned into.
Agreed. Definitely unfortunate. A a couple more coaching changes that I don't think we've spoken about. So DJ Durkin was hired as the defensive coordinator. He was definitely rumored to have been top of the list, and that one has become official. Like we said, defensive line coach Jeremy Garrett takes the job with the Jaguars. Vontrell King Williams has been hired as the new defensive tackles coach. So still some moving pieces on that staff, and we will continue to keep an eye on how all of that assembles. Also, did want to acknowledge this. An Auburn legend, Terry Beasley, passed away last week at the age of 73. Obviously, such a legend that doesn't even feel like it does it justice. He is one of just 3 jerseys that have been retired at Auburn. So I was curious if y'all had interacted much, if you had any Terry Beasley story, because obviously I never got the opportunity to meet him, but have heard so many great things about him.
Yeah, yeah. Terry was an awesome guy. He was always funny because he always come by the radio set, and
Oh, yeah?
he would talk to me and everything, and Ronnie, and that's one thing about him. He's one of those older guys, along with Pat Sullivan. There's now, you know, and rest in peace to both, but
Hmm.
both of those guys was always like very conversational,
That's
and they would
awesome.
always come around and speak to us as younger guys, and Terry, I can see his face now coming over to the set, smiling and everything, and I can see why he was such a gem to Auburn and all the
Yeah.
things that he's done. Even as a player, it's the way his teammates come out and speak about him and everything. And I don't think a lot of people realize this. He played a couple years in the NFL, and then he had to deal before everyone started talking about CTE stuff. He had to deal with that.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
thing. I was reading a little bit on his story, and I didn't know that as much. And I was just reading kind of like, you know, kind of why he stepped away from football, what he meant to Auburn and his accolades, but also just the way he was with people.
Yeah.
But a lot of things, man, these guys, you know, shoot, they didn't have no NIL, they didn't have any of that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just I just wonder, will we have that ever again in the newer generation? Will there be guys that come back and be around the program? Will there be guys that have
Right.
these stories of being at Auburn together for 4 years, grinding together? Or
Very
you have
few.
yeah, it's very few. I was reading the Bo Nix story. I know I'm getting off subject here, but down to
No,
Senior Bowl, I guess, they asked Bo, who do you choose more of? Auburn or Oregon?
I didn't see
And
this.
yeah, and I think, he was saying, well, I was with Oregon last, so I have to say Oregon, but then Auburn is part of my heart because, I went to Auburn and, and I played there and everything. So it's almost like they put the question trying to put him in a tough position
Yeah.
to make a choice between two schools. But for him, he actually played at both schools,
Right.
so when it comes to NFL, someone we have to do that Monday night football, they say your college or high school. For him, I'm gonna say high school because what's you gonna do? Like if you say Oregon, which everyone's gonna understand because your last 2 years at Oregon was your best,
Right.
and you had a really good career there, but you played 3 years at Auburn as well. And
What does
so
Jalen say?
I don't know. I don't know because the thing is, what are these guys gonna say when they play for a different couple of schools?
Yeah, like, remember when Jalen went to the Senior Bowl and he did the half helmet and there was, like,
Yeah,
Oklahoma and Alabama, but I've never heard what he says during his intros, now that you bring
yeah,
that up.
yeah. I don't know who he claims more or
No.
less. It probably doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, like I wouldn't
Well,
say
and
either to the point I wouldn't want to disappoint both my
I would say
fan base.
both, I guess. Can you
Yeah,
do that?
but then it's kind of like
And then if
you
you're
know,
TJ Finley, you're gonna take 10 minutes because you gotta list 75 schools. Like, we
yeah,
can't let everyone do that, but the Bo Nix one, see, that's where this thing is so layered because, like, I actually think it was the best thing that Bo could have done for himself.
oh,
Like,
yeah,
it was not working at Auburn, and it was so
yeah,
layered because, like he said, like, there was a heart piece to it, and
right,
Auburn had really high expectations for him, and he put all this pressure on it as well, and when it wasn't working, it brought out the worst in everybody. It brought out the worst in Auburn, it brought out the worst in him. He almost needed to have a little bit of separation. It was almost too much passion, too much pressure, and Oregon allowed him to be his best. And so, like, I don't blame him in this situation, but once is it. And it his was different because real effort was given before he abandoned ship. It wasn't
right,
just a coach telling him, "Look, you're
right.
getting benched," and so he's out. Like, he put years into it. I think you could slight Auburn and be understood or given grace more than if you slight Oregon. You're right, though. Maybe he's just gonna say his high school.
Depending on where he lives at. He lives in the state of
True.
Alabama. You know.
And what team he I don't know. That's a really good point, though. Now I need to look up what Jalen says because I've never thought about that. I bet he says Oklahoma, though. I feel like it's probably
In that
The one
situation,
that
I would
sent
probably say
you.
more Bama. It's the one you finish last. It's just
Yeah.
like, if you're dating someone and you left that person with a
True.
really you're
My
not gonna claim
exes are
your ex.
getting no mention in my
Right,
success.
exactly. So
0.
my position, I'm naming the place I was at last. Forget it.
Yeah.
That's where I was at last. But
Yeah.
unless I won a championship like Jalen at Alabama, if I won a
Right.
championship, then I'm going to have to say, like, did I win one at Oklahoma? I was only there for a year. I can't say them then. I have
Yeah,
to
that's
say
true.
the one, or I'm just gonna say my high school and just
Yeah,
let it be.
totally. Did y'all do the voiced intros when you were in the league? Had
Yeah, we
those
did the
started
voice
yet?
intros. Yeah, they started. It was pretty cool. 'Cause they shoot it in the off season before the season
Yeah.
comes. And, they come through and, you gotta say this. So they say, hey, just act like he's doing something. Say, Jason Campbell from Auburn University.
I
So
love
everyone's
the funny ones now. I love that people have gotten to where they're saying creative stuff. They're hilarious.
yeah, it's fun. It's all fun. These guys got a whole lot of they have a lot more at their disposal to have a lot more fun with nowadays.
Absolutely. There's
That's
more personality shown in the league now than ever, and I guess social media has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, so the game is fun. I wish they would let kids dance a little bit in college,
Me too.
just because. Yeah, it's fun. Oh, Taylor, on the subject, college, Auburn,
Love
the
it.
scoreboard at the other end zone has
That
now
was
got a.
next on my list, Jay. We are here. We are
Yes,
here. How do you feel about it?
the longer wait has happened. I feel good about it because I think they should take the old scoreboard because there's such history behind it, put it on the outside of the stadium, and let it still operate. So if people on the outside of the stadium watch
Oh.
the game, I mean, listen to the game, they
Like
can.
on the Donahue side?
Yeah, so they still can see the old scoreboard from the outside of the stadium, and it
That's
still
a good
operates.
idea.
So you can save the scoreboard if you're that much history into it, and still
Yeah.
let it be official. But then you got to match the scoreboard on the other end zone. You can't
It
look
is
like you
the
do different.
biggest contradiction when you look at one end. It is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's almost like, so
Yeah, what decade are we living in?
right. So
Very exciting. The one of the Auburn games that I had this season, John Cohen came in the room and he had actually just been in a meeting about the board and he was like, it's coming, like it's imminent. So we knew it was definitely gaining some steam, and the Auburn Board of Trustees has officially given it the green light. So the North End Zone video board expansion is afoot, and that will be exciting. And it's just crazy, like some people have so much money. Like when you
right.
think about it, like we just were talking about these people just giving gifts to these kids who are now making at times 7 figures. Let's throw a
Yeah,
new video board up. Like it's
right.
crazy. It
Right.
really is crazy.
You still gotta build campus. So I don't know the last time you've been there, but they took down the whole freshman dorm side.
The Hill.
Uh, yes, all that's getting
Rip.
redone. So then you talk about the new baseball facility that's happening.
Needed.
Basketball still trying to get a new practice facility, and then you got football, new scoreboard. They want to change some of the seating. They probably want to do more glass club seating. These things have to happen off of donations, and
It's
then there's
crazy.
NIL to have to support the student athletes. So you're right. There's a lot of crazy money out there that I need to know more about.
What am I doing wrong?
I'm doing wrong, like what I'm saying. So I just like, geez, but
Well,
you know,
and that's why they expect to have a say in the head coach.
right. And you can't get mad when you can't get mad at someone coming to ask you for something. Like it's not my business until you ask me to get involved in something,
Then I want a return on my investment.
in return of my investment. So, you know,
Crazy, crazy. But I think it's exciting. Obviously, the scoreboard is like an ode to history and we love tradition, but like, come on. It has been it's just everyone. I always feel bad for the student section who is like directly under the video board. They have to do a back bend to like look at the score and the time and everything because that one is, oh man, it has served its
I'm with
purpose
them.
though.
I'm with them. I don't even get a chance to see the scoreboard, the new scoreboard, the scoreboard where we
Oh
run
yeah,
out.
from where the radio booth is.
So I'm at the radio booth. I got to do a whole gooseneck to try to just see just to see a glimpse of anything. So I don't even see it. I'm looking at the television prompter that's in our booth.
Oh my
For
gosh.
us, it's a win-win now that I can actually look straight across and actually see a visual scoreboard
They're doing
while
it
we're
for you, Jay. When is
now
it do you know when it's supposed to be done?
supposed to open 2025 season.
Okay, let me get your take on basketball real quick and then we'll give our Super Bowl predictions. Like I said, Auburn pulling off a big win last night over Alabama after they had defeated us in Tuscaloosa a couple weeks ago, but that one was way closer and went down to the wire. This one was comfortable majority of the game. We put up 99 points. Everyone looked fantastic, and Neville Arena, I mean, literally injected in my veins. It looked insane. The commentators kept saying, "I can't hear you." And like you don't
Yeah,
say that on air unless it is genuine. Like you it was such an electric environment. I am proud every time I see a basketball game like that because it was not like that when I was in school. And so just to
nice.
see such insane progress is so flipping cool. So hats off to Bruce per usual. But give me your take on this team. They are now 19-4, I believe, is their record right now. There's a handful of SEC teams that are sitting there with 2 losses. The SEC is really neck and neck right now, and this next stretch that we go on will be a tough test. You've got Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, at Tennessee, who sits at number 6 right now. That stretch is going to be really tough, but this team is so freaking fun to watch. Janai Broom is such a good example of why it's not always the best to jump ship the second the league starts calling. He has already done so much for his stock, and we're only in February this year in particular. Last year, everyone looked at him like, wow, what a good get out of this random small school. How was this guy, so overlooked in recruiting? Like, good job, Bruce. He was solid. Right now, he is the core of this team. He maybe not leadership wise, though I think he's great at that, but on the court, this guy makes an impact on both ends, defensively, offensively. He's so effective with his size, and sometimes a big bodied guy like that, it can be your detriment. He got in a lot of foul trouble last year. I think he's tightened up on that a little bit. Like, if you need an example of why staying another year in college ball could be beneficial, Janai Broom is the poster child right now.
Yeah, Janai Broom is having a stellar year. He's probably in the top 5 as far as conference player of the year.
Yeah.
When you think of just in the overall what Janai has brought to the program this year,
Yeah.
coming back was the best decision he's made.
Agreed.
Him and Williams, both of those guys coming back have made big impacts this year,
Yep.
and they're having fun. When you're winning and
Yes.
having fun, that's exciting to see. Like they're not just winning; these guys are chest bumping each other. They're getting the crowd into it. We have a true home court advantage. Like
One
it
of
is
the best.
truly, it is the old school Duke Cameron arena that
Yeah.
Auburn has. I see why they built the arena that only fits so many people. They didn't want the club seatings because they wanted the environment to be more built center to the court, to make all the crowd noise pump to the court. And that's exactly what's happening. If you don't think it makes a difference, just go to a game. It
Yeah.
makes a huge difference because, it's hard to hear the point guard holler out your offensive play if we can't hear each other, So in our defense, the way that these guys play defense, we're a defensive first team. When we
Yeah.
play defense, we win. You watched the Ole Miss game last Saturday, how they went there to Ole Miss and Ole Miss jumped on them really quick. And then you're looking like, oh boy, man, here we go. On the road, it's gonna be a tough one. But
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, how Auburn just flipped the switch. They come out at halftime, they flipped the switch. They became more physical.
Yep.
They get after it. Yeah, and all the key pieces that Bruce added to this basketball team has just been paying huge dividends. Like that's why I say it's not always the high price name guys, the 5-star guys, or
Right.
it's not always those guys that's going to automatically give your program victories. If you look at his roster, we probably got what 1 5-star.
Yeah. He is good at finding the diamonds in the rough.
So he's finding the guys that are not guys that have something to prove and have
Mhm.
a chip on their shoulder. And that's kind of something we need to take in other aspects when we start thinking about even in football. Get these guys with the chips on their shoulder.
Yeah.
that comes in and got a lot more they want to prove because you're gonna get a lot of effort, and that's what this basketball team is getting. They're
Yeah.
not the most talented team in the country, but they play with so much effort and togetherness that it just shows itself over and over. And yes, we talk about that stretch. It is a tough stretch.
Yeah.
You can win all those games, you can easily lose all those games. But I think you at home, I think that home court advantage will make a difference. But
Who
then I think the Tennessee game decides who wins the SEC outright in this conference.
Yeah. Charles was talking about it on the broadcast. He gave so much great insight, by the way. But he was saying like the parity this year, like he was saying there's no great teams, there's just a bunch of good teams. I think by the time we're in March, you're going to have a bunch of great teams. The stretch of February, the improvement that you see, those are the teams that end up pulling off some special things in March. So maybe he meant no one's great yet, but there are makings for so many great teams, and the SEC is really stacked. So I think the tournament is going to have a lot of parity and a lot of unpredictability because there's so much evenly matched across a lot of the conferences right now. And look, I mean, last year we ended up with a championship that very few people predicted, and it wasn't the juggernauts. You know what I mean? So there's always room for that as well. I know that UConn is looking incredible right now, and that's a little bit to be expected. But whether it's the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, I mean, the way it's sitting right now, you could have 10 to 12 SEC teams in the tournament.
I
That's
think we would have
crazy.
the most based off what they were saying the other day, we would have the most out of conference to be in the tournament. But when you think about as a whole, you made a great point. It's just like the NFL, which we'll get to in just a second.
Yeah.
Getting hot at the right time.
Yes.
So what has played Auburn over the last couple of years have been we start fast and then we fizzle out.
Fizzle.
Where
Yep.
this year we kind of didn't start really fast. We started good, but now we're picking up steam at the right time, I feel like.
Totally.
I think we need to keep that steam going through the tournament. We always get to the tournament the last 2 times. I think we lost what the first game of the tournament. So you have
Mhm.
no momentum going into the NCAA tournament. So I do think it's very important for this team to keep moving in the same direction that they're moving in right now. So that when they get to the SEC tournament time, I think you need to go deep in the SEC tournament. I
Yes.
really do. I think you need to gain some speed and gain some of that tournament energy before you head to the NCAA tournament, which has played us for the last couple of years. We have no momentum going into the NCAA tournament.
Definitely a team that you want to keep your eye on. So we'll continue to do that. All right, Super Bowl week,
Mm.
last week of some NFL. We've got the Chiefs and the 49ers. We have either disproved the logo theory or the NFL realized that we were onto them, and so they changed up the forum. But regardless, you've got Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs against Brock Purdy and the Niners meeting up in Las Vegas. Who you got, Jay? I ask with bated breath because I'm so pissed that the Chiefs are in this game.
Well, you have to respect greatness,
I
Taylor.
do. I
You have to respect
respect
greatness.
Alabama. It doesn't mean I want to see them succeed.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Raider, you know what I'm saying? So I don't really like the Chiefs either.
Yeah.
But I have to tip my hat off to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and what they're
Oh,
doing
for sure. They know how
and
to do
everything.
it.
So there's a lot of icing on the cake in this game, right? Let's just get to meat and potatoes.
As
Everyone's
you
talking
do.
more about the Taylor Swift than they are the game. So people has talked about how much of CIA and everything that they've had to pump security into this Super Bowl more than
I'm
any other Super
sure.
Bowl because just her appearance alone. I'm
It's
like, "What?"
crazy. I
She's
know.
just as a fan and as I was like, as a
She has
girlfriend,
nothing to do with this game.
she's not even
Nothing to do with it.
she's not even performing, and she's having a mega impact. You don't think the NFL likes the fact that Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce?
Their viewership has gone up because of
Their
this. It is
viewership
crazy.
has gone ridiculously up. If I'm Travis Kelce, I'm going to the NFL and saying, "Hey, I want some dividends because y'all have made a bunch of money off my relationship this year."
Sure.
You know, because it is crazy, man. The amount that they talk about that, like the camera goes to her every
Every
time for a commercial or anything. You watching the game. I was just like, geez.
It's
So
insane to me.
yeah, so everyone's talking about that. Usher performing at halftime. Everyone wants to see who is Usher going to bring out because he's from Atlanta, but
Yeah.
then he's done so many collabs with so many people.
He
Uh,
oh,
if he
I'm
could bring out
so
one person,
excited.
who would be the one person you would want to see him bring out?
It's gotta be Luda and Lil Jon. No one else will like, best thing with Jay-Z, Jay-Z ain't coming. OMG with Will I Am, no one would care to see Will I Am. No offense, Will I Am.
I think Luda and Lil Jon will come out with
Throwback with Jadakiss. Bring out Jadakiss.
Jadakiss was a hot rapper, man. People
I
didn't sleep on
know. And then he's got a few with P. Diddy, but P. Diddy is very problematic right now, so he ain't gonna do that.
nobody's touching P. Diddy because P.
No
Diddy got
one's touching P. Diddy.
yeah, yeah. You know, no one's
No.
touching P. Diddy
I
right
bet
now.
Luda. I bet Luda will
Yeah,
come out.
I say Luda, Lil Jon. So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. We'll
I'm
see what happens.
so excited.
See what happens. It's in Vegas. I know Vegas is probably going crazy this week. But my pick now.
Okay.
The road to the Super Bowl has been the hardest for the Chiefs. They had to beat a high scoring Miami team at home,
Yep.
which didn't shock me. Frigid weather that leans towards Kansas City all day. But then you had to go to Buffalo and beat
Yeah,
a
that
hot
was
Buffalo team that won like 7 in a row in Buffalo. And you find
Pat
a
had
way to
never played a playoff game on the road.
hadn't played a playoff game in a row. That's all the noise everyone was talking about, right? So he goes there and they win that game. Then you go to Baltimore, who I had picked to go to the Super Bowl
Same.
and pretty much to host the Lombardi Trophy. They go to Baltimore and they shut down a Ravens offense that's dual threat and
All
everything.
year.
And yeah, right, and then they made the defense just look like there wasn't the same defense.
Yep.
So you had to win two of the biggest games in two of the hottest teams' territory to get to the Super Bowl. And Andy Reid and Mahomes has the most experience at being there out of the two. So when you go head coach the quarterback, you take the Chiefs and Mahomes. Now you look at the 49ers. They play Green Bay. If Green Bay don't drop those interceptions, Green Bay is winning. I know everyone talks about the whole Brock Purdy story. It's a great story. It really is. I
I
think he
agree.
has a lot of credit to be able to take a team to the Super Bowl, to barely get drafted and to have the career that he's having right now.
Agreed.
I think he's done an exceptional job just to be in that position.
Yep.
And he'll have something to be able to tell his grandkids that a lot of us can't one day,
Mhm.
what it's like to play in the Super Bowl as a starting quarterback. I think for that standpoint, he doesn't have the experience that Mahomes has in the Super Bowl. But then Kyle Shanahan has coached in the Super Bowl, and they lost a 28-3 lead. Bunch of balls there in the fourth quarter, and everything kind of led to that. And now he has an opportunity. He went back to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago with Jimmy Garoppolo, where they lost to the Chiefs. So this is now his third time as a coach to have an opportunity to go and try to achieve the Lombardi Trophy. Now, both of these guys can put up points offensively. We know that. Defensively, the Chiefs hadn't got a lot of credit that they deserve in stopping the Buffalo team and a Baltimore team that's
Very
going to now
true.
go to the 49ers team that can run the football really well. And both of those teams could run the ball and pass it. So I think they're flying under the radar or not getting a lot of credit defensively that they definitely should.
Agreed.
Coach Beck done an outstanding job with that defense and everything. So I'm gonna go in this game just off experience. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs 31-27.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think the Chiefs are going to win as well, and I freaking hate it. But I do. I think that the Niners, they. Now, what's interesting is you've got like some really like you've got two of the best tight ends in the league, George Kittle against Travis Kelce. Christian
Yeah.
McCaffrey has had one heck of a year. I think he definitely could end up being offensive MVP. Isaiah Pacheco's had such a fun year and has certainly been so efficient for them. Then they've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire who comes in. That's a good balance for them in the rushing attack. I think you look to the quarterbacks though, and here's the thing. If Brock pulls this off, he
Mhm.
cements himself. Like because I think right now Pat, and after Pat beat Lamar, I don't think there's a debate anymore if Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And it's only, going to increase as his career continues. If the Niners win, it's going to be because Brock has an incredible game. Last week, he pulled off a lot with his legs. And like
Right.
he was efficient, he read the field well, and like everyone loves to say, he's a great game manager. If they win this game, it's going to be because Brock had another great game, because you know what the Chiefs are capable of with Pat, with Travis. Like all of that's been consistent for years. So if the Niners win this, Brock Purdy does something that we have not seen been done in the NFL in a long time. He's the unexpected, unpredictable, in some ways unknown, and almost always doubted. And he is up against the best in the league right now. So it's really going to be very interesting to watch. Um, but I would love to see the Niners pull it off. I'm definitely team, 49ers. I do, if I have to pick, if I have to bet, I am going to pick the Chiefs, because I think, like we see so often across all levels of sport, veteran experience pays off.
Well, you just said something though. Brock Purdy plays the way he played in the second half of the Detroit game, then it gives the 49ers a chance to win. And the first half he didn't play that well, but the second half he did what? Like you just said, he utilized his legs. He made key plays at key moments in the ball game that kept drives alive, and that's how they was able to pull out that Detroit game. Now, I was pulling so hardly for Detroit, and
Yeah.
it was a Cinderella story. This team, all the stuff they've been through, and didn't have an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. You almost wanted them to make it to the Super Bowl just because of the whole story behind the Detroit
Yeah.
Lions, and the game was there for them to take it. I know Dan Campbell, he's been going for it all year, but at some point, it always catches up with you if you don't make
When
the
you
right
leave points on the table.
leave points on the table. When you're planning to go to a Super Bowl, you
Yeah.
don't go for those fourth and threes like they're just easy to miss. Like you're
Agreed.
in this territory, you're on the road, you have a lead. Go ahead and add to the lead. You're not chasing at this point. You are ahead. Go ahead and put that three up on the board.
Yep.
And then the next time they had a chance to go for it and kick the field goal, you do the same thing
That
and
was
you go
at
for it.
least one of them.
You haven't scored yet in the second half, and the 49ers are just scoring back to back to back. You got to stop the flood.
Yep.
So stop the flood and just put points on the board and make it a 27-27 ball game and send this thing into overtime at worst. But then you go for it, you don't get it. They go down the field, score. Now it's a two-score game. Game's basically over. Then you make another decision where you get down to the 2-yard line. You try to run the ball, knowing that you need to save all three of your timeouts just in case you score and kick the ball off to get the ball back with a chance to get a field goal, the tie, and still send it in overtime. But you run the ball and then you call a timeout. So when you call that timeout, it was basically game over because now you got to score, but then you got to get the onside kick. So I don't understand who was beside him rationalizing with those decisions. They should have told him, Coach, take the points first and
Agreed.
foremost. And then in that situation where you didn't take the points, so you're on a 2-yard line, Coach, we can't run the ball. We need all three timeouts. So we need to throw the ball, score, punt, kick the ball off, stop them 3 plays in a row, make them punt the ball us. At least it leaves us with 50 seconds to get in field goal territory. With the offense that they have, they
Yep.
could have done it. And then you have a chance to send it into overtime. So all those decisions, they fell apart at the end. And
Yep.
it goes to show you when pressure's on the line, it busts pipes. You can do all that going forward all you want to during the season. But when you got to make rational decisions, when your season is on the line, and everything, you got to make the high decision choice. And the high decision choice is I know you go for it in some of those other games, but there's another game the
It's
next
a
week.
different situation.
There's no
Yeah.
other team the next week in this situation. Kick the
Yep.
field goal, man. Come on. Like stuff like that drives me crazy because then I feel like that's when analytics get in the way of rationalized football decisions
Yes.
that keeping the scene
The
happen years.
book cannot take into consideration some of those intangibles, and that's where good coaching has to override.
Right. Andy Reid would took those field goals. You know, like
Oh,
other
for
teams would
sure.
took those field goals. Like you don't do that in those situations. So, but here again, instead of a Baltimore Detroit Super Bowl, which would have been awesome because it's two new teams and
Yep.
everything. I would like to see Lamar get a shot at that thing. And like I said, everything with golf and Dan Campbell and what Detroit has meant being relevant here lately
Yep.
would have been huge. But hey, you got the 49ers, you got the Chiefs, you got two great offensive minds. You got a quarterback that's chasing the GOAT conversation, and you got a quarterback that's trying to cement himself and his
It's chasing
legacy.
relevancy.
So you got two defenses that that can cause problems.
Yeah,
So this should be a fun game. It should be a definitely exciting, fun game, and
I love
I'm
it.
gonna do an over and under how many times they show Taylor Swift on TV. I'm gonna go
Ugh.
20.
What's crazy to me is like Russell Wilson is married to Sierra. They don't shove her down our throat. Like, what is this? I understand Taylor Swift is a star, yada yada yada, but like, it is at a and like I don't even fault her. Like a lot of people are mad at
She's going
her.
to the game. She's going
I'm
to the
mad at the outlets that are
game.
choosing to do. I have never in my life seen this much. I mean, like the captions on like the NFL's official social media pages are like Taylor Swift lyrics. It's just weird to me. Like it's just been forced ad nauseum, and I'm over it. But give me all of that coverage of Usher because he's gonna freaking deserve it, and I'm so excited for halftime. So I think that's going to do it for us. We are definitely over an hour at this point. So we will go ahead and wrap it up. Jason's got to get back to some dad duty, and I'll get this edited so we can post this
You
up
gave me a
today.
break for a little
Yeah,
bit.
I got you a little break. You need a nap, though. I know how you're feeling. Not to the same degree, but sleep deprivation is a very real thing. But you crushed the episode, even with the sleep deprivation. So we appreciate you for sure. And huge congratulations again to you and Shayla and your growing family. We're very happy for you. So that is going to do it for us this week on Bleav in Everything Auburn. We will more than likely be back next week, recap the Super Bowl, and get more into some basketball coverage. Gymnastics is underway. They have a home meet this Friday against Alabama. So the Iron Bowl of all sports continues this week. So if you're in and around Auburn, make sure you go support them this weekend. And we will be back next week to break down whatever else happens between now and then. So have a great week, everyone. We will talk soon. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Peace.
Peace.